Hi, I'm Declan.
I'm Maya.
I'm Amelia.
I'm Callum.
And I'm Jenny.
Coming out can be hard, so we're asking our guests to share their stories to help.
Am I? I don't know what it is.
So Callum, when did you start noticing that your sexuality was different from other people around you?
I think I first noticed my sexuality was different when I was 8 years old, which is really, really young, I think, compared to a lot of other people's experiences. And I kind of very, very quickly realised that that made me different. And I remember kind of dropping that into conversation very subtly with some of my friends at that age, and their reactions made me very quickly realise that that wasn't deemed okay. So I kind of bottled that up and kind of pushed it down and almost forgot about it. And then it wasn't until I was into my teenage years, kind of 13, 14 years old, that I started to really realise really what that meant and started to slowly come to accept myself.
Have any of you had any other reactions, positive, negative?
In my case, I'm asexual, and it wasn't until I was about 14 or 15 when my peers started talking about sex that I realised they were actually being serious. Like, they weren't just saying it because people on TV and real adults said it. Like, they actually wanted to have sex. So for me, it was only when that started happening and I realised, oh, I don't want to.
I was really lucky because I kind of grew up in a environment where I never really needed to even come out. It was kind of, it wasn't deemed as something that needed to be corrected per se. Like, at least in my family and my friendship group, no one assumed that I was straight. So I never had to have that conversation of, oh, actually, this is different. The kind of more negative side of it is when I tell new people that don't know me so well, because obviously they just assume and then I kind of have to correct them.
I had basically like the same kind of experience. I just started slipping it into conversations with my friends and with my family, and people were like, yeah, cool, that's totally fine. But then like I do sometimes get negative reactions when I say I'm currently in a relationship with a man. It's kind of the whole thing of like, well, you're not really bi then, are you? Because you're with a man. And it's like, that's not how that works, okay?
What about for those people that might have kind of more of a negative reaction or are worried about that?
I know that when I first came out to my parents, it was when I was around 16 years old, and my parents are some of the most supportive people in the world, but their initial reaction was negative, not hugely negative, but it was negative, and that came from a place of love and support because they were worried about the different life I might have as a gay man. So their initial reaction really kind of surprised me and threw me off, and I got quite upset and angry about that. And it was only really through properly communicating with them quite quickly, in the space of a month, they had gone from, oh no, we're not sure about that, to this is amazing, like we have a gay son, this is brilliant. As LGBT plus people, we often have several years to kind of realise that and come to terms with it ourselves. And then when we share that with other people, we almost expect them to instantly accept it, and sometimes it can take a little time. That doesn't mean people are homophobic or transphobic. Maybe they just need a little time to kind of adjust.
Something I would suggest is coming armed with information and being ready for questions to be asked that are problematic or embarrassing, or you can't believe they would ask what you think is an obvious question. If you make sure beforehand you've kind of prepared for those questions, that they could happen and what you're going to say, the process might go a bit more smoothly.
I think also it's really important to know that you're doing it when you want to. It's like it's a deeply, deeply personal thing that is going to be different for every single person. You have to be really sure that it's what you want to do, because then if you do have that slightly negative reaction, you're going to still feel secure and still feel safe, and it's not going to make you question yourself.
What about for those people who don't feel safe coming out?
I don't think there should ever be any pressure to come out. I think at the end of the day, your orientation is your business, and maybe one day your partner's business. But until then, you can tell as little people you want or as many as you want. And if you're in a situation where you think you could get thrown out of your house, or you think you could get bullied, or it's just not safe for you, you shouldn't feel like you have to. You're not lying to anyone by not.
People can call you all kinds of names, and it sucks, and it's, in a perfect world we wouldn't have that, but it's about your relationship to yourself. And also there is an entire world of people out there who feel exactly like you do and who understand how much it sucks and how difficult it can be. Maybe you're not in the right place right now, but you're not alone, and your little bubble isn't all there is.
So do you have any final tips for anyone who's thinking about coming out?
Your sexuality is so fluid, and you can think that you're one thing on one day and be completely on the other side of the vast spectrum the other day. Keep your mind open to what could possibly happen, and to explain that to people when you're coming out as well.
Labels are a really, really helpful tool, but they can also be very, very restrictive. And I
Yes.
think it's really important not to let a label define you.
Yeah.
I recently heard a wonderful story about a man who came out as gay when he was a teenager, and he spent his whole life dating, being in love with men, having sex with men. And then when he was like 40 years old, he met one woman and fell madly in love with this woman. And they're now together to this day. And he still identifies as a gay man because outside of this one woman, he is only attracted to men. He still identifies as a gay man. I think that's wonderful. That's a great example of how you can use a label to explain how you feel, but not let it restrict or define you.
I didn't really know that bisexuality was a thing. Like I was made to feel a bit weird about it. Always remember that your feelings are totally valid.
I think there can be a great deal of power in coming out to yourself before you come out to anyone else. I know that a lot of people, when they try to come out to somebody for the first time, they almost can't form the words. They feel the words stick in their mouth, and it's because saying I'm gay or I'm bisexual or I'm asexual, I'm trans, saying that out loud for the first time can be terrifying. And I think just taking the time to say it to yourself can be wonderfully empowering.
Thank you so much for coming in today. It's been really great and informative. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.